Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show. Good morning, my friends. You did it. You made it through the week. Yet one more notch in the belt, one more trip around the sun. Well, no, I mean, it's, one more spin of the planet. There we go. That's what I was looking for. 7 more spins of the planet, actually. Welcome back to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator, and live around the world on our website at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find links to, well, the audio-only stream, social media links to Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we simulcast the radio show every morning on the internet, because why not, right? And, of course, you'll find the podcast there as well, links to the podcast, which is available wherever you find podcasts, including one of our favorite places, Spotify, etc. Anyway, welcome to Friday. Friday is the day where you and I get a chance to, it's my gift to myself. It's my weekly gift to myself, where I'm like, I really want to talk about firearms and the Second Amendment and all that kind of stuff. And I'm happy to do that. What, it's the one day a week where we get a chance to focus on this. I think, quite honestly, I'm not a one-issue voter, right? I mean, there are people out there who are one issue, whether that's, immigration or abortion or gun control. But I will tell you that it definitely ranks up there in the top 2 issues with a candidate that I look at when I'm looking at a candidate. What is their record on gun control and on the ownership of gun rights? And it's an important, I think it's an important topic to cover. And so we cover it every week because it is only through our relationship with guns. Now, Americans have a very unique relationship as a nation with firearms. We grew up as a nation. We grew as the dependency and the technology of firearms made leaps and bounds, right? It was kind of interwoven into the DNA of our country. We started the revolution with, smoothbore rifles and muskets, and then pretty soon, rifled barrels started to develop. And after the revolution, and as we started our westward expansion, we had the cartridge fired rifle. Then we had the repeating rifle and the revolver, and it just, every step of the way, Americans were involved. In fact, I would argue that America really is the foundation and is the origin point of the modern day firearm. Most of some of the most iconic designs for all historical firearms have come from the U.S. Most of them, Of course, Samuel Colt, John Browning, this Eugene Stoner. These names, mean something. There are others. There are some in foreign countries. But again, we're the only country that really kind of grew along with that. And so we have this unique relationship to firearms. And sometimes people just don't understand that, especially people from foreign countries. They are like, you Americans and your love affair with, why do you? Well, again, you kind of have to understand where we come from as a nation, throwing off the yoke of tyranny. And I know that sounds kind of trite, but when you think about what was happening back in the day of the founding fathers and the revolution, and you think about the injustice of what was happening, where they were, they had a king and a monarchy that was trying to, basically hold them down and hold them back from thousands of miles away. This is, back before air travel, right? It was galling. And we had a whole bunch of independent, probably what today would be called rednecks. But we're back in the day, ye olden days, and they basically threw it all off. And it was through the ability to defend themselves. It was through the ability to have the tools to do so that they were able to succeed. And I think that that's just fascinating. And in fact, the first battle of the Revolutionary War, most people don't really realize that, that shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord. Most people don't really know the details of that, but that first shot heard round the world was actually over confiscation. The British were marching to seize the powder, primer, and ball from the civilians. That's what it was about. They were coming to disarm the civilians because most of them had muskets and guns, but they kept, because the black powder is very explosive, and they kept it all together in a magazine like a bunker for the communities. And that's what they were headed to do. They were headed to seize the magazine, the powder, and the shot for the colonists. And that's when that first shot around the world was heard. And so it was over the final straw of disarmament. So, read your own parallels into that as you will, but it's always, to me, been a fascinating look into the psyche of, and the fabric and the DNA of America being built up, why this is so important to us. And we've been fighting this battle for a long time. I've been broadcasting, this show is 25 years old now, and I've been broadcasting Firearms Friday component of it for, I guess, 15 years of the 25, maybe a little bit more. And so, we talk a lot about some of the same things, but I'm always hoping that there's somebody new out there who may not have been exposed to some of these ideas and some of these truths. And what we're countermanding with what we're talking about here with Firearms Friday is we're countermanding decades of inaccurate, fallacious, false, and just misleading information that people are seeing and have been seeing every day in the news media, every day in their stories, right? The daily soaps, their television shows, their police procedurals, the movies, the entertainment industry, and what the talking heads and the cable networks and the politicians are telling you. Most of the things that you see, especially in the fictitious world of television and movies, is demonstrably false and wrong and misleading. And that's unfortunate. So now we have to fight back against that and try and do our best to lovingly educate those people who just don't know and may be interested. I do not expect that this program is going to sway anyone who is vehemently anti-gun. I just don't see that. I don't see them going, well, he makes some good points. I think I've changed my mind. I just don't see that. What I see happening here And this is why I would encourage you to have all your non-gun friends listen to the program. And I mean, I'm not talking about your anti-gun friends, because I'm sure we probably all have one or two, but I'm those people who are kind of curious, who may be, ambivalent, maybe. Those are the kind of people that I'm trying to reach out. If you're listening right now and you're kind of like, meh, I could take it or leave it, or I'm kind of pro-gun, or I'm kind of anti-gun, I don't know. Listen to the program, listen to what we talk about, and then make your own decision. But understand, more than anything else, that guns are the reason that America is still as free today as it is. I mean, we're still really the only country in the world that people are dying to get into. Yet if you listen to many of the talking heads, oh, we're full of violence and guns, and everybody's dying, and your children can't be safe at school. And, you hear that and you're like, okay, what are the actual numbers? What are the actual stats? What are the actual statistics? Well, there's a lot of them. Let me drop one for you right now. According to the latest, I guess, is this the latest? I think it's the latest UCR number. I don't have it right in front of me, but let me paraphrase it for you. And you can go look this up for yourself. The FBI, DOJ, Department of Justice, UCR, Uniform Crime Report. And this is statistics that are pulled from police departments and law enforcement agencies and everything else all around the country. Okay. And you look at what's going on in America and you realize that as far as gun deaths in America, there's a significant number of gun deaths, right? There's a significant number, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 48,000 gun deaths, I think was the last one. But first and foremost, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because they classify gun deaths as all gun deaths, including suicides, which if somebody's committed to kill themselves, the gun is just one way they could do it. I mean, they could take pills, they could throw themselves in front of a train, they could sit in their garage with their car, they could do, a lot of different things. And accidents. Now, about 65% of those gun deaths are in the suicide category. All right. When you look at actual gun deaths, let's talk about things like homicide. Okay. And even by the most generous estimates, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15,000 homicides a year with firearms. Okay. Now, to put that in perspective, we live in a country of 330 million people. Okay. While each one of those deaths, 15,000 or so deaths, murders by firearm, are a tragedy. Each one is a tragedy. Somebody's lost their son, their daughter, their mother, their husband, their wife. I mean, whoever, it's a tragedy, each one. But in the overall statistics of 330 million people, you realize that is just a fraction of a fraction, like 3 zeros, point, and then 3 zeros, and then like a 6. That's how small that number is. Okay, overall. So we're not nearly as dangerous as people would like it to believe. Then we go on to things like, excuse me, the evil black rifles, right? What we continually hear about, the assault weapons ban. We need to ban weapons of war on our streets. And then you realize that out of those 15,000, less than 500 are committed with long guns, and not just evil black rifles. They lump all of those together. So your dad's hunting rifle, your squirrel rifle, your single shot, your bolt action, anything that's a long gun, about just over, it's about 400 to 500 a year, which that means you can add a couple more zeros after that decimal. Okay. So assault weapons are not really the problem that you hear when you look at the raw numbers, you start scratching your head and going, why are people so upset about this? Because, not again to be too trite, but gun control is really about control. Control. That's really what it's about. And what you have is people who are in government of both parties. This is a non-discriminatory, of both parties, who believe that somehow they know better than you how you should live your life, how you should raise your children, how you should spend your money. And it would be so much easier if they could put those things in place without having to worry about you pesky subjects, not citizens, subjects, getting all riled up and being able to stand up to them and push back. That's really what it boils down to in its basis, as in its base essence, is they don't want a population that has the ability to stand up and push back. So I hope that today we're able to find something in here, you know, that maybe triggers something in you. Triggers, get it? That sparks an interest in this for you to at least look a little deeper, to reach out to your gun friends. If you've never really gone shooting, you probably have friends who have guns. Ask them, hey, next time you go shooting, would you take me? I'd like to try some of that out. And just see what it's like. Because there are 700 million guns in America. I know they say 450, but I guarantee you it's 700 million guns in America. They're here to stay. And they're a lot of fun. 99.99996% of gun owners in America are lawful. It's that pesky 0.00006% that aren't. All right, we're going to go on here. The phone lines are open if you'd like to sound off. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Feel free to shoot us a phone call, 319-527-3864. We got some headlines. We're going to talk a little bit about what the election results means for America at the national level, what's going on in Washington State, what the ATF's up to, some other things. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to be back with more. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Good morning. Let me go over here. TH over on YouTube said, there's that many in Alaska, Mike. 700 million guns. I mean, we have more guns per capita than any other state in the nation. It's been estimated that Alaska has more guns per capita than any other state in the nation. And I can see that. I know how big some of your collections are. Not surprising. Rick said there were 42,800 fatal car crashes in 2022. That's 117 per day. And Terry says, well, we obviously need car control. Now, that's a slippery slope because there have been people that say, well, we register cars, we license cars, we tax cars. Well, the thing is, cars are not a constitutional Bill of Rights guarantee, right? Cars are part of infrastructure, so it's a little bit different. It's harder to it's a harder process to go on. And, you know, when you have a fundamental right like that, the government, when it says shall not be infringed, that's a prohibition on government doing the things that it's done over the years, right? And when you're talking about the number of fatalities by gun, not self-harm, not suicides and everything else, and you're talking about it being a fraction of a percent of American citizens who are being affected, you don't punish the 99.9994% of Americans who are lawful and law-abiding to get at that 0.0006%. You just don't do that. Well, you shouldn't do that, but that's the tack that they've taken, you know. Yeah, if Greg Collins moved out of the state, we would definitely drop to probably, well, maybe 4th or 5th place as a per capita. You know, we know that for sure. That's what happens when you have to build a whole new wing of your house to house your stuff there. Tawny says, Michael, here's my question. What can you do as you get older to make firing your firearm easier? Between carpal tunnel and arthritis in my hands and wrists, it's becoming harder to fire. That's a function of just getting old, Tawny. It's unfortunate. I don't know about, whether or not you could wear a wrist brace that would help you absorb some of the recoil. If you're looking for personal protection, it just depends. I mean, if it does hurt your hands, you've always got the old route of, shooting the lower caliber pistol for practice and carrying the higher caliber for actual personal defense, because if time comes, your adrenaline will dump and you won't be feeling your hands at that point. And I'm talking about, like, if you have a 357 shooting 38s for practice and then 357s for carry. And similar things can be done with different types of pistols. So if you carry one certain model of pistol, whether it's a Glock or or a SIG or a Walther, generally speaking, they have the same pistol with the same controls and the same feeling in a smaller, lighter caliber. And that might be a way to do it. Would mean having two guns, one for practice and one for carry. But that's the only thing I can really recommend, unless somebody else out there has got arthritis in their hands and I do have arthritis in my hands, but it's not that bad yet. I feel it when it's cold. I got a little frostbite when I was much younger, and my hands do not like it when they get cold. That's for sure. And we haven't even got into DGU, defensive gun use, for those people who may be listening who are, middle of the road or just, gun novitiates. Anthony says, I'm a bit cold and calculated when it comes to this. Like medicine, if firearms save 30,000 lives but accidentally kill 100, it's an unfortunate reality, but it maths out on the ledger. That's what I'm saying. I mean, 15,000 deaths are a tragedy. Each and every one is an actual individual tragedy. But in the grand schema of 0.0006% being that is, I guess, well within the error bars, as you say. Is it really a problem is the big question there. All right, we got to go. We're going to continue the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
Man, that guy is mean. Whew. Man. All right, welcome back to the program. It is Firearms Friday. I didn't even get into the defensive gun uses, that statistic, which the media doesn't really want to talk about. In fact, most of the mainstream media, the news reporting and like I said, the television and the entertainment industry, they want to downplay what's called DGU, defensive gun use. They want to downplay it as a myth, the good guy with a gun myth. But we know from statistics and from actual reporting that it does happen. Shootings are stopped. Killers are stopped cold in their tracks. I mean, all you have to do is look at the Greenville Mall shooting. That young man who happened to be in the shopping mall when a crazed gunman started to randomly try to shoot people, and he Zimbabwe drilled that guy right into oblivion. Boom, done. Stopped cold. Right? We know that according to statistics that there are upwards of somewhere around 2 million defensive gun uses in America in a year. Even some of the lowest estimates are showing somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000. And those are kind of biased estimates from some of these places. But I mean, 2 million defensive gun uses a year. So when you talk about 15,000 homicides versus and most of those, by the way, most of those 2 million defensive gun uses was the mere presence or, the fact that somebody had a gun and was able to draw it and not a single shot is fired in the vast majority of those cases. So when you have 15,000 plus 16,000 homicides, yet you have 2 million instances where the presence of a gun in somebody's hands stopped the crime from occurring or stopped it in mid-spree or whatever, that's a pretty good trade-off, right? Again, I'm not trying to diminish the fact that each one of those homicides, for those people, for the people around them, and those are tragedies. I'm not trying to diminish it, but I'm showing you statistically that it is almost, it's within the margin of error kind of thing. When you're talking about 15,000 people, even if you rounded it up to 20,000 or 25,000 out of 330 million people, or defensive gun use, 2 million gun uses and 15,000, that is, in the cold, hard world of math and statistics, that is just, that's a trade-off. And I know that sounds callous, but if you knew that you could survive 99.9994% of the time, that's pretty good odds. That's pretty good odds. So it's it's an interesting take. All right. Phone lines are open. I told you that, right? 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to call in today, we open up the phone lines because I love to answer questions as best I can. If I don't have the answers, I've got a lot of knowledge, right? And my Google foo is, I've got a black belt in Google foo, right? So we can figure it out. Plus I have the smartest listeners in the world. And so if I don't know the answer to it, then somebody in the chat room or somewhere knows the answer to it. And the theme is that there's no such thing as a dumb gun question. So if you have a question about guns, and I know it can be embarrassing, you don't want to walk into a gun store and look like an idiot, right? You don't want to look, everybody hates looking ignorant, although we all are ignorant in many things. For some reason, many people are just very hesitant to do that. But so if you want questions answered, give us a call. We'll try and do that right now. One of the questions that came out of the chat room this morning was from Tawny, who said, my question is, what can you do as you get older to make your firing your firearm easier? Between carpal tunnel and arthritis in my hands and wrist, it's becoming harder to fire. I wish there was an easy answer for this. There's not. Getting older is, well, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Getting older is not for the faint of heart. But there are some things you can do. I don't know about using I just told Tawny earlier, I don't know about using a wrist brace, but if your wrist is hurting, you may want to use a wrist brace to see if that helps. Also, if you want to do a lot of training and you have a firearm that can shoot a lower power cartridge, like for example, if you have a 357 revolver, a 357 revolver can also fire 38 special rounds. And 38 special rounds are much easier on the recoil. They're much easier to handle. And I did that for many years where I had a 357 and I would shoot, when I would go shooting, I would shoot 38s and then load the 357s when it was concealed carry. Because trust me, if you ever needed to use that with the adrenaline pumping, you would never know the difference. And at least you would have the muscle memory and the training and the rapidity of being able to use that. You wouldn't notice the difference if your adrenaline dumps. The other option of that is that if you have a pistol that's not a revolver, not a 357 or a 44, where you could shoot 44 specials, instead of 44 magnums or whatever. Your second option is if it's an automatic pistol, then you could, if many manufacturers sell those pistols in exactly the same shape with exactly the same controls and same firing systems. They're almost identical, except one shoots a much smaller caliber bullet Sometimes you can buy conversion kits that will convert your pistol from, 9mm to 22. I know Glock, there's systems for Glocks where you can swap out the barrels and you have different magazines and everything else, and you could shoot 22 caliber if you just want to get that muscle memory for drawing, firing, using it, clearing it, doing all those things. And so you could either buy the same pistol in 2 different calibers, a lighter caliber and your heavier carry caliber, or you can look into conversion kits for your pistols where you can get a separate barrel and feed mechanism or magazine, and then shoot that small. Plus, it's cheaper if you do shoot like 22 all the time. It's much cheaper than shooting the full size cartridge. That's about my only option for that, because again, carpal tunnel, arthritis, it's just hard. It's just, it's like I can't hardly swing a hammer very much anymore because I've got arthritis in my hand, and I swing a hammer for an hour or something like that, and it hurts for the whole rest of the day. So I feel you on that. Okay. I shoot 45 long Colt instead of 454 Casull. I will tell you right now, I will never own a 454 Casull. I have shot them, and they are probably one of the most unpleasant guns to shoot. I've shot 45 long in them. They're very nice. But the minute that you put a 454 Casull round in it, it is one of the most unpleasant firearms to shoot that I've ever experienced. So, yeah. All right. Let's get over to some of the news stories that I want to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about 3D printing. We're going to talk about parenting in the days of firearms. We'll talk about what the ATF is attempting to do against some of the, if you can't cajole, you got to prosecute. And we're going to look at what effect did the Second Amendment have on this election? What was a factor? And what are President Trump's, what are his cabinet picks now? What do they mean for gun owners here in America? And because there's been some interesting things that when you look at, again, I'm not a one-issue voter, but if you're looking at this through the lens of how does this affect the Second Amendment, you have to look at that. I haven't been thrilled with all of his picks, but from a gun standpoint, from a firearms and a Second Amendment supporter standpoint, it's looking pretty good for gun owners. But before we get into all that, I want to touch base on this because I thought this was an actual parody headline from The Onion. For those of you who are not familiar with The Onion is a satirical news. It started out as a newspaper or magazine and eventually became an online website. The Onion, if you're familiar with the Babylon Bee, it's similar to the Babylon Bee, only it has a more progressive slant. Well, this is the headline. Everytown USA for gun safety signs a multi-year deal agreement to advertise on InfoWars. InfoWars, for those of you who don't know, is Alec Jones's website and his news media outlet. Now, you listen to that and you go, really? Everytown guns? Alex Jones? I mean, that's got to be an Onion headline. Well, there's a kicker to that. And I'll tell you about that here in just a moment. That's what we call the hook, right? I'm going to tell you in a minute, which means you got to come back, and then I'll tell you about it. I probably shouldn't tell you about the hook. I should just let it hang there. But I felt obliged to tell you that that's the hook. Come on back. I'll tell you about it here in just a minute. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is Firearms Friday.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Oh, man. Oh, really? Really? I gotta see this. I gotta see this. Let me check this out before I get into this story. Okay. I got to see this story. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just reading this. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to watch. It's a 10-minute video that I'm not going to watch. I'll come back to that. But we'll take a look at it. All right, let me go back over here to the comment section. Anthony says Smith & Wesson 500. That's another. I've never shot a Smith & Wesson 500. Quite honestly, I don't think I want to. I have shot a 50 cal Desert Eagle, and that's not bad. That's not bad compared to like the 454 Casull. Oh God, that's his. He shot his S&W 500 was my most disliked recoil ever. It was like holding on to an angry donkey leg with every shot. My thumbs and wrist have PTSD from that. I could see that. That thing, and it even had a muzzle brake built in. I mean, that thing was just a monster. Why would you? Greg said, I saw an ad for a new 12-gauge pistol yesterday. I have shot a 12-gauge. It's an AOW, any other weapon, so it had to have an NFA stamp. And so it had a fold down, it's a shorty. Serbu super shorty. It's like this long, pistol grip on one end, fold down grip on the other. And you track. I would not have wanted to fire that thing one-handed. Let's just put it that way. That would just not have been a fun thing. Washington gun lobbyists. We're going to talk about Washington State here, Tawny. I don't know what video that is that you're showing there, but Washington is in a little bit of turmoil right now. We're going to talk about that as well. All right. There's a new one out there, a new pistol that uses a CO2 cartridge that cycles the action. It's a new training system because they were talking about using dry fire training systems. So there's a new training system that uses a CO2 cartridge to cycle the action. Oh, see, that would be realistic. That would be kind of cool because then you'd get that would make it more real. I'm going to have to look into that. We'll have to look into that, Brian. See what that looks like. I've been pondering the idea, says Joel, of getting a gun license. But on one hand, I can't imagine needing the government's permission to defend myself. On the other hand, I mean, if you're talking about a gun license, if you're talking about a concealed carry license, there are pros to that. One is that you get reciprocity, and I think, is it 35 or 37 states now that recognize the Alaska concealed carry permit as a valid permit. So you get that, the reciprocity. You also get to bypass the NICS background check if you are going to buy a new gun. You're not required to, do the NICS check. You just show your thing and it goes through. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Again, we are a constitutional carry state. I had my concealed carry permit for the first 4 years or 5 years, however long it took it to expire, and I never renewed it. I'm glad that I went through the course because the course had a lot of good. They had a lot of good information in the concealed carry course. I recommend that you go through, even if you're not getting the concealed carry permit. I still recommend that if you would like to conceal carry, that you go to a concealed carry course because it covers a lot of the legal aspect, deadly use of force, jeopardy ability, means, and all the mindset. It covers a lot of stuff that you probably won't think about unless you go through the course. I always recommend that if you're going to do it, that you do that. Cool fire container, says Brian. I'm going to have to go look at that later. Cool fire container. trainer. Words are hard. Words are hard. Yes, it is important to know the law. That's why I think it's I think that's important. Okay. What was it? I introduced my children at a young age to bear hunting using a 44 single shot rifle using 44 specials. Yes. No, I mean, that's a thing. A lever action 44. I love that. I've got a Winchester Trapper in 44, a little brush gun. Love that thing. And you could shoot 44 specials in it all day long. Okay. I think I'm all caught up. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll talk about that here in a second, Jim. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
If we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Duke Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
That's right. No murder guns here. Only protection guns. That's all we do. I eschew all of them murder guns and assault guns. That's not my thing. I walk into the gun store and I say, "Sir, my dear sir, I would like a protection gun. Don't show me those murder guns. No. I will walk away from this wall of murder guns and only get protection guns." All right. So we were talking about this headline, which I mean, literally, you're like, what? This is the headline. Every town for Gun Safety USA signs multi-year deal advertising agreement on InfoWars, which Alex Jones's news media, right? Talk mogul, conspiracy guy, the fluoride in the frog and the water's turning the frogs gay. That guy. The guy who was sued for saying all the crazy things about Sandy Hook. Well, it sounds like an Onion headline because it is an Onion headline, but not in the parody type way. Now, the federal judge has in the bankruptcy auction, because Alex Jones lost the court case against the Sandy Hook families who sued him for $1.4 billion or something. He filed bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy judge sold Alex Jones's InfoWars system, his media empire. He sold it to The Onion, which again is a parody magazine. And they plan to debut a new InfoWars in January that will serve as a parody, mocking the personalities of Alex Jones and others like him. Now they have literally signed a deal with every town for Gun Safety USA to advertise content in The Onion, which I don't know how this really serves. I don't see an upside, as Tom Knighton or Cam Edwards says over at Bearing Arms. I don't see an upside to this for every town. People know it's a parody website. How are you going to have a serious conversation, because they keep saying that they're serious about gun safety? How are you going to have a serious conversation on a parody website, on a satirical website? It just seems, it seems counterproductive. It seems like they're opening themselves up for mockery in that regard. They can do whatever they want, but I just don't see how that is going to help. Now, somebody pointed out to me that Alex Jones came out and said that a judge has now blocked the sale of InfoWars and slams how this sealed bid auction was conducted. It's a 10-minute diatribe by Alex Jones, and I'm not going to sit through it. I don't know exactly what it says. So maybe the legal sale is enjoined at this point or halted or not, but it was announced yesterday. And in fact, Alex Jones announced on his radio show the day before yesterday that That I mean, because I know radio stations that are carrying Alex Jones, and they're like, they don't know if he's going to be there tomorrow, right? So there's a lot of things going on there. But I just found it interesting that every town thought the best use of their money, and it's Michael Bloomberg's money. So man, set that stuff on fire. Just set it on fire. That'd be the best use for it anywhere. But I just don't see the upside of tying themselves to a parody website. While the alliance between Everytown and the Onion seems like an odd fit, the two organizations share an interest in curbing gun violence, said John Feinblatt, president of Everytown. He said that mission was underscored with depressing regularity in the aftermath of mass shootings. When the Onion goes viral with its oft-shared headline, "No way to prevent this," says the only nation where this regularly happens. Feinblatt said, "This is an opportunity for us to give the Onion the facts, the storytelling, the data, and the research that's at our fingertips, and for them to give us the creativity of how to turn all that information into new messaging to a new audience." Again, the Onion was already a progressive outlet, right? It's like the Babylon Bee, only the liberal side of the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee is actually even a little bit more balanced. But, I mean, they were already... And so we're going to give them the facts, the storytelling, and the data. It's a satirical website. Do they really need the facts when they could just, I don't know. It's, again, they could do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They could be snarky. They could point to it and everything. But I think this is one of those matches where you're like, okay, that's weird. That's just weird, right? You do it. Washington State is in a hot mess right now, and the Second Amendment Foundation and Alan Gottlieb are all over it. The Washington State passed that background check bill here a while ago that requires any transfer of a firearm, including, like loaning it to a friend and everything else. I mean, they put some heavy restrictions on it, and it has to go through the state and the background check and the everything else, except for they had some problems with hackers, and that has led to some other issues. And we'll get to that here in just a second. But first, I see that we have a phone call. So let's go over here to the phones. It looks like it's our friend Fred out in Rhode Island joining us this morning, listening on the internet out there. Hello, Fred. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, good morning, Michael. You bring up an interesting point with Alex Jones and the Onion and Bloomberg. It sounds like a headline, just a headline grabber is what it sounds like. Just cheap advertising for the product is what it is. I think just throw it out there. I don't think that I don't see how Alex Jones could stomach, putting up with every town for gun safety and Bloomberg's nonsense.
Well, but that's the point. Is that's the point? That's the point, Fred. Fred, is that the point is that Alex Jones has lost control of it. I mean, now they're saying that there's a judge enjoining it, but I mean, it was beyond his control. He filed for bankruptcy, and they're seizing his assets and selling off his assets to pay the debt. So it'll still be InfoWars, but he won't have any ownership or control of it. So that's what the problem is there. That's what's going on.
It's kind of like the same thing Soros was trying to do with the radio station, network sale. Try to gain control, more control of the media, and put the knee on the neck of the free press.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this whole thing with this whole thing with them taking over and then utilizing it for more satire is funny. I think the Onion buying InfoWars in and of itself is kind of funny because they'll be able to troll. But I mean, Alex Jones's listeners are not going to be trolled by that. They know that Alex Jones won't be part of that anymore. And so if they're buying it just to be able to troll people, that's great. It'll be an in-joke for all the people who like the Onion already. It's not going to change much in that regard. But the fact that Everytown wants to give them money seems to make them a less serious organization in that regard.
Well, you're absolutely right. Well, the whole thing, Trump got in, which is a great victory, for saving the freedoms and liberties of this country. But it's not over. It's definitely not over. The media, the Hollywood crazies, and the rest of the wokes and the liberals and the progressives, They want to. They get. They're sitting in the background, licking their wounds and plotting their next their next attack. It's not over, and I think we have the opportunity now to peel back the covers here and find out who, what, when, where, how, and why these people exist, and what their real motive is, and not only what it is, but who it is. Because if we find out who it is, it's controlling this gun control and the anti-liberty and the all of that woke nonsense. We find out if we can put our finger on who actually is behind this and what their motive behind it is. I think they'll kill it once and for all.
Well,
be done with it once and for all.
Fred, I think you're ascribing this to being some kind of thing where there's one person in control or there's a bigger, darker.
It's not one person; it's a group of people. But still,
I think
they are there. They are still there. They haven't gone away. They're going to come back. They're going to come back with a vengeance unless we do something about it. Well, we have the opportunity to do so.
I would argue that it's not some underarching, organized conspiracy with a hierarchy and a bunch of people. I think what you have is a bunch of politicians who believe, like I said before, in that narrative of that they ain't no better than you, how to live your life, raise your kids, spend your money, do all those things, that they believe that the only way that society can move forward in a meaningful way is with the direct, benevolent intervention of government, with, of course, themselves at the head of the controls of that government. And I think that they just see that firearms and the independence that it offers citizens is a threat. I don't know if it's necessarily organized or anything else, but it's a philosophy.
You made it an organized, Mike, but the point is, when you look at the Democrats during the campaign, I mean, they were in perfect lockstep. They were more lockstep than the Nazis were in the Second World War. They really were. I mean, everything. One chimed out, and they all repeated it. Perfect unison.
Yeah. Well,
so there's something going on there. There's definitely something going on. I don't know if it's arm twisting or threats or whatever. Whatever method of control they had a pretty good handle on it because everybody followed suit.
I almost think that has more to do with the kumbaya philosophy on the side of the progressive fence than anything else. We're all holding hands and taking a village. Again, I don't know if I'm going to ascribe it as some great conspiracy, but it is a concerted push. There's no doubt about it. There is a concerted push. And maybe there is somebody out there who's evilly cackling and twirling their mustache saying, we'll get your guns and your little dog too.
Well, I don't think it's anything global. From a global standpoint, I see them nothing more than 21st century carpetbaggers. Once again, the carpetbaggers were at the end of the Civil War.
Yeah.
They went down to the South and they tried to rape, steal, and burn everything that they could get their hands on.
Right.
For their own gain, for their own profit. I think we're seeing a lot of this happening in the 21st century on a much more sophisticated way and basis. But I think it's happening.
All right, Fred, we'll hold the line for a second. Folks, we're out of time for this hour. The Michael Duke Show. Hour 2 is dead ahead. Firearms Friday. Sorry, Fred, I was up against the break there. I'll give you the final word here this morning to see what else you have to say.
No, that's basically it. Like I say, don't turn your back on the fact that we won the election, and we got the House and the Senate. It's not over. It's not over. Don't ever turn your back on these people.
Well, I mean, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, right? I mean, so yeah, we can't ever say, "Oh man, our work is done. We can go put our feet up now and wait." If we do that, that's going to be problematic. I mean, it looks like we've got the House, the Senate, and the presidency now. It looks like the House is going to actually end up in Republican hands. Not that bad things haven't happened for gun owners under Republicans, right?
Sure.
The 1986 FOPA. I mean, the 1986 FOPA under Reagan, the Firearms Owners Protection Act. President George W. Bush saying if they got the assault weapons ban on his desk, he would sign it. And I mean, all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, just because they've got an elephant on their lapel doesn't mean that they're not a danger to us as citizens, for sure.
For sure. Okay. Very good, Michael.
Thanks, Fred. Appreciate you coming in and joining us today. We will talk to you soon. Thanks.
Okay, you have a good week now.
Yep.
Take care.
Thanks for calling in. All right, let me go back. Man, that was a fast first hour. Can't believe hour 1 is done. Layla says, I bet Everytown and others think Jones's followers are so ignorant that they won't realize something has changed at InfoWars. It's the kind of move elitists who don't understand why anyone would like Jones would do. I don't understand Jones's appeal either, but I do understand why his followers like him. And I also think that they're smart enough to drop InfoWars like a rock. And that's exactly it to me, Layla. Like what, I mean, the Onion buying the InfoWars, I mean, okay, great. You want to do that. And they actually were working with the Sandy Hook families because they were the ones, the Sandy Hook families were the ones that were awarded that 1.4 or $1.5 billion award from the lawsuit from Alex Jones. And they told the Onion that they'd be willing to take less money to take that away from him. That's essentially what happened. And it was a sealed bid. And maybe that's why, like I said, Alex Jones, 14 hours ago, he went up and said, legal bombshell, judge blocks sale of InfoWars, slams how auction was conducted. Because there was a sealed bid auction and there was a bunch of, whatever. But the bottom line is, I agree with you. I think that in their minds, the snobbery of people at the Onion and Everytown and everything else think that these people who listen to Alex Jones are so stupid. Now, granted, I don't listen to Alex Jones. I don't get his appeal either. I think it's entertaining sometimes. The fluoride in the water's turning the frogs gay, right? I mean, I think it's entertaining sometimes, but he does have a very good following. Now, the question is, are they going to stick around? He is not being silent about the transfer. In fact, his last comment night before last was that, we're going to go out like Vikings. Well, I don't know exactly what that means, but he is not being quiet about it. He is telling people that they are selling InfoWars. And what he's going to do is he's going to stand up a new website and a new media outlet, and he'll rebrand it and he'll start again. And people who know him will go with him there. I think you're right. I think this shows the arrogance of a lot of those elitists who just don't understand why anyone would like Alex Jones. And they think in their elitery, that's not a word, but in their elitism, that his followers are just too stupid to understand that he's not there anymore. But hey, whatever. There you go. All right. Looks like Carlene is on the phone. Carlene, hold the line. We'll be to you here in just a minute. Let's go over here. You guys, is anybody reading the room here? I got a moth in here. How did that happen? It's 20 degrees outside. How did you get in my room? Anyway, damn rainbow colonizers. Joel says, anyone that wants to disarm you is your enemy. Change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. You're 100% correct. Anybody that wants to disarm you is not your friend. And I would go as far to say that they are your enemy. Why? Because it would just be so more convenient for them to be able to tell us how to live if we didn't have the ability to push back. That's the thing. The Second Amendment is not an overt threat. An overt, I mean, by pitchforks and torches and ARs held over our head as we march down the street. The Second Amendment is an implicit threat. It's an implied threat. You can go this far, but really no further, because then people won't comply. Because they have the ability to push back if you decide to try and crack down on them. I mean, that's why you have the Connecticut assault weapons ban and the New York assault weapons ban. Those bans that went into effect where you were supposed to register and all that, and their compliance rate. I mean, the New York compliance rate was less than like 4%. The Connecticut compliance rate was just barely into double digits, meaning almost 90% of the people in Connecticut said, no, thanks. Because again, remember, 99.9994% of gun owners are lawful and law-abiding. You're going to take that 0.00006% of gun owners that do bad things, or criminals who aren't gun owners that are thieves that steal guns. You're going to penalize everyone for the actions of, you're going to penalize all those, good guys for the actions of one bad guy. That's not even right. All right, here we go. Hour 2.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show. Good morning, my friends. Thank you for coming on board and joining us. It is the one day a week that we dedicate to the Second Amendment, to gun rights, discussions, history, just jibba jabba, gun talk, pew pew talk. We're going to jump into this and get things ready to rock and roll. All right, let's go over to the phones. The phone lines are open for gun Q&A at 319-527-3864, 319-527-3864. Looks like Carlene is on the phone, so let's go over to Carlene and see what she has to say this morning, and let's get things crack-a-lackin'. And we'll start right here. Good morning, Carlene. What's on your mind?
Good news. Town Hall just announced that they're going to name the head of the Department of Interior. It's North Dakota Governor Burgum. It was just on the news a few minutes ago.
Oh, really? I mean, that is good news. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not firearms related, but that is good news. It would mean that Mike Dunleavy will stay here in Alaska for a little bit longer. For those of you who missed yesterday's show, there's a rumor going around that they wanted Mike Dunleavy. Many of the legislature, the pro-government, pro-big government parts of the legislature wanted the governor out of the way so they could get defined benefits passed, because he's pledged to veto it, and Nancy Dahlstrom hasn't. I mean, that's good news, I guess, from that perspective. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's good news. So North Dakota, is that what you said? Burgum,
Governor of North Dakota.
Okay. Well, interesting to say the least. Well, I mean, it doesn't mean that maybe Mike Dunleavy doesn't have something in the future for the Trump administration, but maybe it means he'll stay here through this next session, and we can at least count on him holding down some of that stuff. We'll have to see.
I hope so, Michael.
Okay. Anything else, Carlene? Any firearms things today?
No.
Okay. All right.
No firearms.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Carlene. 319-527-3864. We're trying to keep it to firearms talk today, right? I mean, because we got 4 other days of the week that we can talk about other politics, but let's try and keep it to firearms. And again, gun questions are always welcome. Gun questions are always welcome. So let's talk a little bit about the Second Amendment. It won the election, but how much of a factor was it? Well, I'm not sure. I think to some extent it was. Was it the biggest component? But Maybe. I don't know. The problem is that we kind of have a hard time really knowing in a lot of ways. Tom Knightenden over at Bearing Arms talks about how Nate Silver, who is a pollster, one of the probably 538, probably one of the best pollsters out there. Nate Silver has accused his fellow pollsters right after the election of putting their thumb on the scale regarding polling data because he called the election, but he was in the minority amongst most of the major pollsters. And so he basically said, hey, you guys are putting your thumbs on these election scales for politicians, right? 538 had her winning. Anyway, it's interesting to see. Polling guru lashed out at other survey junkies in his fields for cheating in the final stretch of the 2024 election, accusing them of recycling some results to keep the race between Trump and Harris close. He said irresponsible pollsters were hurting their numbers or using past results to affect current ones. And he goes, I kind of trust pollsters less. They are all, every time a pollster says, oh, every state is just +1, every single state's a tie. He said, you're hurting, you're cheating. And so the problem becomes if they're going to lie about that, wouldn't they lie about if it didn't fit their political agenda, wouldn't they lie about questions on things like firearms, gun control, the mandates on gun rights, what Americans really believe? That's a challenge. That is a big challenge. Organizations, including, according to Fox News, including Gun Owners of America and the National Rifle Association, tell Fox News that they're looking forward to working with Trump when he returns to the White House in January, despite gun control groups such as Everytown for Gun Safety vowing to stand strong against the president-elect's extremist agenda. Don't worry, they're spending money on the onion, so it doesn't really matter. Aiden Johnson, the director of federal affairs for GOA, told Fox News, I think the Second Amendment was on the ballot and the Second Amendment won. The American people clearly elected a pro-gun presidential ticket. Johnson also said President Trump promised on the campaign trail that he would sign national concealed carry reciprocity. And so I think that Congress has got to deliver that for the president. If you have a concealed carry license, it should be valid in all 50 states, just like your driver's license. Americans have clearly given the president a mandate. He was elected at a pro-Second Amendment platform, and Congress needs to deliver for the American people. I mean, I agree, and he came out strong. I will give him this. Again, I've had my reservations about Donald Trump, but he can read the room most of the time better than almost anybody else. And he came out swinging, talking about national reciprocity. 4 or 5 days after the election, he put out a video piece where he said he's going to get this national reciprocity bill going. That's what he wants. So, I mean, I think that there are some good things that could be done. Now, I'm cautiously, again, I said this before, I'm cautiously optimistic about a Trump presidency when it comes to guns, because he has a bit of a checkered past about it, bump stocks and red flags and due process. I mean, we've gone over this ad nauseum. I'm not going to repeat it, but it looks like he either, learned his lesson, or he is at least, going to use it to his, he's going to read the room and give the people what they want, because that's the populist position. And I'm glad for that. I hope it doesn't change, but I'm glad for that. Super glad. But looking at his picks for his cabinet will help inform us even more. Now, we talked about Tulsi Gabbard as being the national security director. I think that's a great pick. I really do. I mean, I can't tell you how much I like Tulsi Gabbard. I liked her before she left the Democratic Party. I was like, here's a woman who at least has some common sense and could look at issues from both sides. She was literally one of those Zell Miller blue dog Democrats that you're like, well, that's a common sense Democrat. That's unusual. And of course, since then, she's left the Democratic Party, become a Republican, So, I mean, it's, it was happening. But I think that is a great pick. And she is pro Second Amendment, too. Not that the National Security Advisor has a lot to do with that. But if you look at some of his other picks and some of the other people that he's supported, there's some good news in there. Let's start off with Matt Gaetz. Gaetz. who is been nominated as the Attorney General. He rolled out Gates. Now, Gates has got some problems and issues. He's very bombastic. He's got some baggage. There's been some unsavory allegations about his past and other things, and it's going to make his confirmation tough. There's no two ways about it. He's going to have he got a lot of stuff hanging around him. And again, he's a little bombastic. He's not shy, and he's made a lot of the more moderate, middle of the road GOP members more than a little bit uncomfortable with the things that he's tackled and some of his attitudes. But I will say that as the Attorney General, that makes him the head of the Department of Justice, the DOJ, the FBI, the ATF, right? He runs the Department of Justice that has all of these agencies, these alphabet agencies underneath of it, the ones that make gun owners cringe every time they hear the acronyms, because they know that these people are not friendly to your civil rights. And so as the leader and the guy who runs the Department of Justice, it's very ironic, because one of the things that Gates was a part of and was a proponent of was in 2023 the Abolish the ATF Act. In fact, Gates introduced that act in front of Congress. And now it wasn't really going anywhere, but it was a statement, right? It was a statement that he had a very good speech. I think we covered part of that speech and some of the sound bites of it back at the beginning of last year when that came out, where he said the ATF is no longer a valid organization and it infringes on people's rights and all that kind of stuff. So when I see somebody like this, who, again, he's going to have a tough confirmation process because he's got some, right? He's a politician. But when he is there, like, I'm going to abolish the ATF and wants to pass this act, to me, that's a good sign. Now, even though he runs the DOJ, he couldn't just disband the ATF as a bureaucrat. He couldn't do that. But because that takes takes an act of Congress to dismantle something like that. But he can slap it down, and he can slap it down hard. He has a lot of latitude. He could defang, defund, reorganize. I mean, the first thing that needs to happen is Steve Dettelbach needs to go. He's the current director of the ATF, and that guy is a weasel. He needs to go, right? And that could happen. Those are things that Gates could get into. He's also, again, he's the head of the DOJ, makes him the FBI director's boss. And he might be able to put a stop to some of this kind of crazy extrajudicial stuff where the FBI is forcing people and pressuring people to sign away their gun rights, in exchange for not part of these plea deals where you're not going to be prosecuted, but you got to sign away your gun rights. And, we're going to kick down doors of people who are innocent and all that. I mean, he's got some power in there. He has made he's giving us every indication that he would be good for gun owners as the Attorney General. Now, again, cautiously optimistic, because we are talking about politicians, okay? Take it with a grain of salt. But he's done everything. Tom Knighton didn't even mention that when he was a member, that he supported gun rights as a member of Congress, but even before he was in Congress, he defended Florida's Stand Your Ground law while he was in the legislature. So he's got a track record. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign for us. Now, so that's the Attorney General. But what about the Senate Majority Leader? Because Mitch McConnell, as you know, is no friend to the Second Amendment. So what about Trump's choices? Well, he had 3. Did he pick the best of the 3? We'll talk about that here in a minute. And we got Willie Waffle coming up at the end of the hour with our weekend entertainment and movie review. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense Radio. Phone lines open 319-527-3864.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're continuing. I see Ron is on the phone. Ron, hold the line. We'll be right back to you here in just a minute when we get back to it here. Go back over here. I'm going back. Did I ever touch base with the guys in Australia? You know, I did, and then that kind of fell apart. Rick is asking if I talked with Chris Howard. You know what? Let me see if I can find him on the thing here, because he and I are friends on Facebook. Here we go. There we go. Let me see. When can we get you back? When can we? I can't talk and type at the same time. It's like my major failing here. Back on Firearms Friday. All right. I sent him a message again. So thank you for reminding me of that, Rick. I appreciate that. Let me go over here and okay. All right. Let me get caught up on the chat room here. So will Trump really support the second, says Harold. I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I said, he's shown that he can vacillate. Maybe he's learned his lessons. Maybe he hasn't. Gary says, Michael, back to your caliber conversation. Having a rifle and pistol in the same caliber is awesome. Carrying only one cartridge and never having to think when grabbing to reload. I have a set at 9mm, 44 mag, and 45 long Colt. Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, that's why most of the cowboy rifles were all in pistol cartridges, because, they got pistols and rifles all the same caliber. One for short range, one for long range. It is an awesome thing, for sure. That's exactly. Why does anyone listen to pollsters? When I was talking about Nate Silver and everything, Terry says, why does anybody listen to pollsters? Going through here. The election wizard. What? The election wizard went on MSLSD. I'm thinking he's MSNBC, and had an unhinged rant. Sounded like a lunatic. Nate Silver is just mad because he was incorrect. I mean, polling is not an exact science. Weighing the biggest thing here is that, even if you are concerned about Trump's, potential vacillation on gun rights, Brian does make a valid point. Weigh that against Harris's long and vocal legislative history on firearms, which is all anti-gun, not like, a little bit. In fact, this was the first time in the whole time that she's been in the public eye that she's been like, oh, I'm pro-gun. I've got a gun, and you come to my house and I'll shoot you, kind of thing. That was her doing her level best to try and reach into that middle. That's the first time that he would do it. Joel says the main issue with Matt Gaetz is that he used his office to prosecute his political opponents and authorize federal agents to harass parents who were peacefully protesting at school board meetings. Like I said, he's got his problems. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. That was Merrick Garland, the current attorney general. He was being facetious, and I fell for it. That was my bad. Brandon Herrera to the ATF. Oh, my God. Could you imagine Gates nominating Brandon Herrera as the head of the ATF? Man, could you ask for anything? That'd be like making Hickok 45 or Grand Thumb or Alan Gottlieb the head of the ATF. Making Alan Gottlieb the head of the ATF. Oh. All right. We got to go. We're going to jump back into this here. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Ron's on the line. We're going to start off with his phone call right now. We're, about 8 seconds away. Let's get to it. Please like and share, like and follow, ring the bell, do all the stuff. Let's get to it.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Man, those assault penguins, they be vicious, man. They be vicious. You do not want to get hit with the assault penguins. All right, phone lines are open at 319-527-3864. We're going to talk about the Senate Majority Leader here, but first we're going to go to the phones. Ron is calling in this morning from, I believe, North Pole. Let's see what he has to say. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
You know, it's another beautiful day in Paris. At least it's not 0 this morning. It's 20 degrees, so it feels almost balmy here this morning. What's on your mind today, Ron?
You just triggered something in my memory bank there. Anyone who has any questions about Tulsi Gabbard, I suggest they get on their computer and ferret out a video where she is running a combat course with rifle and pistol and in a tank top.
She does a lot of that stuff. She is really, like I said, I liked her even when she was the Democratic senator from Hawaii. I liked a lot of the things that she said. I didn't always agree with her on everything, but of course you're never going to agree with everybody. But the further that she got along in life, it was like the more she started going, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. And the further she got along, the more she seemed to realize that she was on the wrong team. And here we go today. But yeah, I really think that and I think do you think, Ron, it's the ultimate trolling position that they nominate her to the head of national security when the Biden administration put her on a terror watch no-fly list or something this last year. I mean, they were really punishing her near the I think it was September or something when they put her on that no-fly list and she got stuck somewhere. I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate troll, isn't it?
Well, you just stole my thunder. I was about to bring up that same issue, and certainly having it come home to roost, so to speak, is a great motivator.
Yeah, no, and look, I'm not advocating that there's tit for tat on that, but I just think it's funny that they try to smack her down. Now she's elevated to this position. I don't want her to reciprocate in kind, but I want her to just look at these people with a smile and that twinkle in her eye saying, I got you, baby. I know, you tried to get me down, and yet here I am, and now I'm your boss. I think that's like the ultimate trolling moment. I love it. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Could be fun to watch from a safe distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to be a fly on the wall. I want to be the guy with the spy satellite from orbit watching, right? Just in case something goes sideways on that, for sure. All right, Ron.
Okay, we'll cut you loose. Have a great day.
Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, that was the thing, right? I mean, she was over it. I think she was in Italy or something, if I recall correctly. This is back in September. And all of a sudden, she couldn't fly. They're like, no fly. I mean, she's a former congresswoman, pundit now, and everything else, and she just couldn't fly. Like, she's a danger to, and I'm like, that is so low. I mean, that is so low that they did that. And for her to be nominated to that position, it makes me giggle. It just really does. Not that, I think that Anyway, I think she's going to do well in the position. It's not the high horsepower position that I think people would have necessarily wanted her for, but I think it would be. I think it'll be interesting. But let's look at what the president did on one of his other nominations. Now that we've talked about Gates, the other one, of course, we know Mitch McConnell, no friend to gun rights. He's really not a friend to Alaska. Mitch McConnell has been the engineer of Lisa Murkowski's continual success and victory. They poured millions of dollars into keeping Murkowski in office. He is one of her closest allies, and I'm quite honestly glad to see him going out of power. But when the president suggested, he had 3 different nomination picks for Senate Majority Leader. John Cornyn from Texas, Rick Scott, and South Dakota's John Thune. Now, when I first heard these picks, I was like, because John Cornyn, for those of you who don't know, while he's not a full-blown, out-of-control, gun-grabbing guy, he was one of the guys that ramrodded the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, one of Biden's signature pieces of anti-gun legislation. He was one of the guys on the GOP side that ramrodded that through. I mean, the Senate, they didn't have to accept any of that. The Republicans could have stood together and stood strong and not passed a thing. But John Cornyn spearheaded the effort on the Republican side. And I mean, that's problematic to say the least. In fact, people in Texas were actually pushing for him not to be nominated for that reason alone, because people in Texas are still mad about that, right? His home state are still mad about that. And then you've got Rick Scott from Florida, who was the governor of Florida. And he was the governor when the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shootings took place. And so he was a key component in several bills, including one that raised the age for purchasing a rifle from 18 to 21, imposing a 3-day waiting period on gun transfers, and establishing a red flag law. And it's astonishing that this guy, I mean, this is who we're talking about. Now, you have to remember the guy that shot up the Parkland, the Parkland, it's the Parkland shooting, right? This is the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High is the Parkland high school shooting. This guy already had all this interaction with law enforcement. He'd had over a dozen contacts with local law enforcement, almost as many with federal. The FBI had already interviewed him and done all this other kind of stuff. And he was a former student, but I think he was over 21 already. And then the red flag law, and then the 3-day waiting period. And, this was the time you would think that Trump, after having an assassination attempt, getting clipped in the side of the head with a bullet and walking away, that would have been his opportunity to say, well, I like ARs, but, right? You would have thought that would have been his but he stood strong. That's great. Rick Scott had exactly the same opportunity. So those two guys, in my opinion, automatically, not to be too punny, but throw red flags on the play, right? But what about John Thune? And luckily for us, John Thune was the actual pick in the long run. John Thune was selected as the new leader on Wednesday. And that really allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief. He doesn't come with any gun control baggage. In fact, he's been a reliable supporter of the Second Amendment. He sponsored bills of his own that are pro-gun, while at the same time he voted against assault weapons ban and the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act in 2022. Back in 2009, he offered an amendment to a defense appropriations bill that would have established national reciprocity in the bill. If it had passed, it would have forced states to recognize every concealed carry permit from any state in the nation. He'd offered plain legislation to expand concealed carry laws and had received 22 co-sponsors, but that amendment that eventually failed. But it's a great opportunity. Now, the filibuster is still in place, and so Republicans are unlikely to get to that 60-vote threshold to pass reciprocity as a standalone bill. But again, he has a history of embracing budget bills as a vehicle. He tried to do it before in 2009. He could do it again. And so, again, cautiously optimistic that this could be good news for gun owners. Between Gates and Thune, with people like Tulsi Gabbard in office, working with some of these other folks, I think that this could be a good opportunity. Again, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. You don't start sandbagging here. But I think it's good news. And that with Brune and some of the other cases that may appear before the court could be a good time to be a 2A guy or gal. The Michael Dukes Show, Common Sense Radio. Willie Waffle's up next.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Didn't even get to all my stories today. So many stories, so many things to talk about. We didn't talk about Washington State. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All 3 nominations were trash, said Joel. He doesn't agree with my analysis. He doesn't think Thune's a good pick. This is from 20 minutes ago, so I got to get caught up. Maybe he comments on what, so I'll get through here. Let's go. Going through here. Biden's head of the ATF couldn't define it as an assault rifle, as he isn't a famous expert. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tawny. You're right. Coleon Noir at ATF. I mean, at least he's an attorney. So that would, oh, man. That was, wow. Quiet Skies watch list. Thank you, Fat Ray. That's what she got hit on was the Quiet Skies watch list. Former congresswoman and a lieutenant colonel in the Guard, and she got put on the Quiet Skies watch list. She has done several long form interviews. She's very serious and focused. Exactly. Mitch McConnell is a friend to Mitch McConnell. Yeah. Thune. Okay, so this is Fat Ray's further comment. Thune has a better voting record on gun rights, but everywhere else he's a steaming pile of swamp. Yeah, I know. It is. Harold's just getting caught up on the whole interior announcement of North Dakota. Where you been, Harold? We've been talking about that for a while. Maybe Trump will tap Lisa for ambassador to Brazil. That would be, I think you should tap her as ambassador to Micronesia or someplace, they should say. Joel did say, you make some valid points. I'll be nice to Thune. You don't have to be nice to Thune, but I mean, it's I'm just saying it is interesting. I mean, again, they're all politicians, right? Not a one of them is really pure as the driven snow and matching every criteria, but at least of the 3, he was the better choice of the 3. Yeah, why would you want to send Lisa Murkowski to Siberia? Do you hate Siberians that much? I mean, really? Do you hate Siberians that why do you gotta hate so much, man? Why do you gotta hate? Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading a text message here from Willie. Okay. All right. I'm about to get the hookup here. About to get the hookup with Willie Waffle. 2 minutes. All right. Did we get all caught up? I'm all caught up. I'm all caught up here on your comments this morning. What are you guys doing this weekend? What's the plan? What are you doing? What's going on? I'm cleaning my garage this weekend. Anyway, all I can say is, come on, Christmas. Taking all that time off for Christmas. I take the full time off between Christmas and New Year's. And you guys in the chat room know, I haven't made the announcement on the air yet, but you guys in the chat room know I'm also taking the week of Thanksgiving off because reasons, because I need to. I need to take that off. But we got lots of stuff happening here, folks. Lots of stuff. Announcements, they are coming. Will you guys be the first to know? Maybe. Big things happening. Big things. Can't wait. Can't wait to be able to tell you. Anyway, it's going to be fun stuff. Fixing the water system in my house. That sounds about as much fun as what's going on. I'm going to be baking this weekend. Is that baking or you're going to be bacon? Because that sounds like cannibalism, and that's not right. Human bacon, probably not as tasty as bacon. Although I don't know. I think Elena said she was going to be baking, but maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, Tyson fight today. Tyson versus Paul, what the YouTuber? I can't wait. I can't wait to watch the 12-second fight. I just put on my snow pants. I'm super excited today. Kim's going turkey shopping. Oh, man. Yeah. Elena is not baking. She's making cookies and brownies. She's baking. All right. Phone's buzzed. I got to turn up the phone. We're going to get ready to go here. You guys ready? Let's do this thing. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube-y things, yada, yada, yada. Let's go. Okay, one final segment. Don't touch that dial. Not going anywhere. One final segment before the weekend. And, of course, that means we need to bring the man, the myth, the legend, Willie, don't call me William, Waffle. Waffle. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm feeling great. Hey, listen, if you've made it this far through the show, if you don't stick around, you're a quitter. Yeah, let's just be honest.
That's true.
You only got 10 more minutes to go.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, just don't be a quitter. Don't be a quitter. Because this is fun. This is the fun stuff. We're trying to lighten it up. I mean, we've been serious all week, and this is the time where we can lighten it up and be a little frivolous and just, whatever. We're going to talk about crazy stuff that just kind of blows your mind. All entertainment kind of related. Movies, streams, whatever. So I guess we're going to start off with I don't even know if I want to talk about this. I'm so embarrassed just reading the story. Mattel makes a Wicked mistake. Now, Willie, we all know that Wicked, of course, is the big Broadway show that is the telling of the Wicked Witch of the East or the West, one of the two or whatever. And it's a huge show and everything else. And they got the rights for dolls or something. But they made a horrible mistake here.
Oh, it's the boo-boo, baby. This is the kind of mistake I love. Because as you know, I like anarchy like this. So, yes, the Wicked movie is coming out next week. We're going to talk about it. And, Mattel made all the dolls, Glenda the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch and all of them. And, because it's a tie-in with the movie, they printed the movie's website, right there on the packaging. So you could go to the website and learn more about the movie. And the website is supposed to be wickedmovie.com.
Okay.
But
well, wait. Let me
someone,
just type in wicked.com into my. No, don't do that. Do not do not do that.
do that on any kind of a company computer whatsoever.
Wicked.com is what they printed on the boxes, and that is that is an adult website, right?
It's a naughty website, very, very naughty.
Oh my
and
God. Somebody is so getting fired over this. Like,
this is why you check those. Man, the printer sends you those things, and you got to check them with a fine-tooth comb, because once you sign off on it, it's going on the box, on the shirt, whatever it may be. And yes, they accidentally put wicked.com. So by Sunday, this happened happened all last weekend. By Sunday, all the items from Target were getting pulled off the shelves. Walmart's pulling things. Macy's, Kohl's, Best Buy, Amazon, DSW. They're all taking things off the shelves. And, they're all making their way to eBay, because the dolls that had a retail price of $24.99 to $39.99 are now going on eBay for up to $800 a pop with the wrong website.
Why? Because it's a misprint. I mean, I guess it's that famous.
It's a misprint. It's a collector's item now, because they pulled as many of them off the shelf as they could. And this is my favorite part of the story.
Oh no!
Who's the winner in this whole deal? Who makes out like a bandit?
Oh no!
The naughty website, which saw its traffic go up by 12 times over the week.
Those poor kids are so traumatized. Oh my gosh. I just can't even imagine. I mean, yeah, somebody is going to lose their job over that. I mean, they must have already. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But again,
you're done.
This is the old carpenter: measure twice, cut once. Make sure that whatever you're putting out there in the public is, what a horrific.
Yeah. I mean, and both you and I have had jobs where we've got to sign off on that final print. And I don't know about you, I would sweat that thing to death. I would be going through it like 5 and 6 times. I'd ask other people in the office to go through it, because this was my fear, that I'd have some misprint that I would have to live with for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, if it went to a broken website, it's one thing, but a kid's toy going to oh man, that is nightmare fuel right there. All right, well, I guess Disney stock, best time to buy it would probably be right now, because it's going down right now. All right, what else we got? Let's talk about this, because this was my pet peeve. We talked about this back in the day a couple of years ago when Amazon announced that it was bringing this new platform. They were calling it Freevee, and it was free television. It was ad supported, but the thing that ticked me off was, here I am, an Amazon Prime customer, paying money, doing all this kind of stuff, and it had a show on it that I wanted to watch, and I couldn't hardly stand to watch it because it had commercials, and I'm so used to not having commercials. With Bosch, it was the Bosch show, Bosch Legacy, that was the extended
Bosch Legacy.
And but I guess good news for those of us that hated Freevee. The good news is bye.
Yeah, Freevee is going down in flames. Amazon announced this week, we're shutting it down. It's just not working. What they're going to do is they're going to slowly shut it down over the course of the next few weeks. So that tells me they'll probably make it through the holiday season. They'll shut it down around January 1st. And Freevee has had some successes. It had the comedy Jury Duty, which actually was nominated for an Emmy. It had, like you said, Bosch Legacy. It had Judy Justice. They got Judge Judy, and they stole her from syndicated television.
Right.
And now they turn around and they syndicate the show she did for Freevee. They syndicate it like with her Judge Judy show. So she double dipped on that one. That was a smooth move.
Right.
And but they're not going to let all that material die. They're going to have, and they're going to move it all to Amazon Prime Video. So they'll have some sort of like Freevee channel or something like that. but they're going to keep those commercials in there, I think, because Amazon's running a lot of commercials now. So I mean, unless
not for me,
unless you
not
pop
for
the,
me.
yeah, you pop the extra bucks, I guess that'll be interesting to see because they really did, time all those freebie shows like regular paid television shows, or regular commercial television shows.
Well,
so I'd be curious if they're going to yank the ads from it, or they're just going to say, hey, this is the freebie portion of Amazon Prime, and just sit there and take it.
Well, I think that they signed their own death warrant when they went to the ad-based model for Amazon Prime, and then you could buy. It's only $3 a month. I mean, my time in watching one show and not having to watch 7 or 8 minutes worth of ads in an hour show is worth the $3 a month, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, it's
I'm with you.
Yeah. So, but I think they signed their death warrant on Freebie when they did that. But they're probably making a ton of money on the ad-supported Amazon Prime, so it doesn't matter. And then there's suckers like me that'll pay the $3 to just tell them to shut up. So I bet that they'll put the freebie stuff on there without the ads for the Amazon Prime ad-free people. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
well, and they may be required according to the terms and agreement that they have made with people. Remember, that was one of the big fights. And that's a class action lawsuit right now. People who said, listen, I was promised I would have ad-free at this price for a year. So they bought the year subscription, and they are suing, and they're saying, listen, you can't change the terms of the agreement we already have. You need to deliver this to me ad-free until my 1 year is up at the same price that I was paying.
I forgot about that.
And I think they have a very good case. That's one of those things, and I hate to say it, but I think that's one of those things that a lawyer sits back and goes, okay, so if we do we're going to get sued for a class action lawsuit, but we're going to make more money by popping an extra $3 on people, taking the ad money for $3, then we're going to have to pay out to these few people who will sue us.
Yeah.
So, they made the calculation, man. They did the math.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't even think about suing. I just said $3, take my money. I mean, I was just like, yeah,
me too.
No big deal. All right, we gotta finish this up real quick. Denzel Washington is retiring, but not quite yet.
I hate it when people do this. So Denzel basically said, he's going to be in Gladiator 2 out next week. And he announced during, one of the interviews that he's doing that, hey, yeah, he's planning to retire. But after I work on a few other things first. So he's like, I'm about to make a film version of Othello, and I'm going to do a film version of King Lear. And I agreed to be in this Stephen McQueen movie that's really cool. Oh, and they wrote a role for me in Black Panther 3, so I got to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, so you're really going to retire in like 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, really. That's just like a 5-year retirement announcement. Whatever. I'm glad. Yeah. I can't wait to hear about Gladiator 2. We'll do that next week. All right, let's move over to the streams. We got about 5 minutes here.
Okay.
And Red One, of course, is the one that I really want to talk about. But what do we got here?
I want to talk about Red One. I want to talk about Hot Frosty, and we'll see if we have time for Landman. So, Red One. This is the Rock and Chris Evans in a supposed comedy, I think. They have Santa, played by J.K. Simmons, and he's been kidnapped from the North Pole. The Rock is the head of his security detail, so he's got to find him. And they bring Chris Evans along because he's a bad person who has something to do with the kidnapping, and they're going to use him to track down the kidnappers. And why are the kidnappers taking Santa? Because they want to ruin Christmas. And all they're doing is ruining my Christmas with this stupid movie. No, it's just not there. It wants to be a spoof of action thrillers, but it doesn't have enough laughs to be a good spoof. It doesn't have enough funny to be a good spoof. It's got some lame cliche action stuff. It's trying to be like menacing and mean, but it never really gets there when it has to be. The tone is just off everywhere. I blame the director, Jake Kasdan. I'm at 1 waffle for Red One.
Because I watched the trailers and it looks so funny. The Rock as an elf who is the head of his security, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons. I mean, this seems like a dynamite cast. That is so... I guess I'm just going to...
It's not the cast's fault.
I guess I'm going to have to watch Violent Night with David Harbour again just to get over my funny Christmas blues.
That's stuff. So much better.
Oh, and the Mel Gibson one. and the
Oh God, that was so funny. That
and-
one was the twisted kind of movie
Yeah.
this one should have been.
that was so great.
Yeah.
And then of course the Kurt Russell movies, where he's
They were very good.
they were
yes.
good. Yeah, there's I mean, okay, all right. It's too bad, but it is what it is. One waffle. All right, hot. This show is going to Hot Frosty. Lacey Chabert.
That's right.
It's a Netflix movie.
Yep.
She brings a snowman to life, and he's hot. What?
He's
The
hot,
what?
baby.
What? I mean,
That's
come
right.
on, man. Is this a
You know,
lifestyle
that's right. Yeah,
movie
hey.
or what?
Exactly. This is their attempt to make those Hallmark type Christmas movies that Hallmark has made so much money off of. And I'm sorry, as soon as I heard that a snowman's coming to life, I'm like, is he gonna look like Danny DeVito or Jack Black or someone in that milieu? No. He's going to be hot. He's going to have six-pack abs and really nice firm cheekbones. And and of course, it takes place in one of those perfect little holiday towns. Why they have the snow and ice sculpting contest right there in the town square, and everybody knows each other, and they walk around with their mittens and they drink their little hot cocoa, and you see the steam rising up towards their little red noses when it's cold outside. And now Lacey Chabert, she's sad. She has a lot of reasons to be sad, but she puts her magical scarf on the snowman out front that's carved out to look like an Adonis, and he comes to life. And I can't believe that this movie's actually entertaining. I was shocked.
Is it really
It's
entertaining?
almost like, yes, it's almost like they're like, we know this is stupid. You know this is stupid. Let's just lead into it and have some fun. So you've got this guy playing hot Frosty there, Dustin Milligan, and he plays him like this golden retriever puppy that's trapped in a supermodel's body. And he doesn't know the world around him. He walks around without a shirt on. All the women in town are drooling all over him. He's so nice and sweet and wonderful. And in the middle of all this, I'm thinking, so basically what we're saying is a woman's fantasy is no longer a regular guy. It's some fantasy guy that can bring to life from out of nowhere. At least when
dumb as a
they were
stump,
yeah. At least when they were fantasizing over George Clooney, we had a chance. It's over, guys. But this is funny.
Crazy. It's funny. It's good.
This
All
is
right.
funny.
Okay.
I'm
Negative.
at 3 waffles.
Really? Because it just sounds so dumb.
It's so dumb. It's funny. It's so dumb. You're in on the joke, and you just roll with how stupid it is. And you know what? It feels like a great Christmas tone movie. Like you could not enjoy this movie in March, people. You can only enjoy it when your spirits are up. You're open emotionally to it, and you're gonna have some fun before Christmas.
Okay. All right. Well, we run out of time for Landman, but I'm going to watch it because it's from Taylor Sheridan. I don't even know what it's about, but if it's a Taylor Sheridan joint, I'm all about that. We'll talk about that in the after show here. All right, Willie Waffle. Next week, Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 2 and Wicked.
All right. We'll talk about those next week then. Folks, we're out of time for today. We got to go. We will see you back on Monday. Who's coming in on Monday? Oh, I think Eric Bain from Reason Magazine will be with us to talk about tariffs. Won't that be fun? All right, we're back with more then. Have a great weekend. Okay. I can't believe Hot Frosty. I mean, they just... I guess if you leaned into it, okay, I guess that sounds kind of funny. I mean, that's all right. But this last movie, or this last series rather, it's a new series on Paramount Plus because Paramount Plus is worshiping at the altar of Taylor Sheridan with Yellowstone and Tulsa King and all these other things. And now you've got Billy Bob Thornton as Landman. Give me the quick rundown.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I mean, I've seen the first couple of episodes. Billy Bob Thornton is like the fixer for the big oil company. He cuts the deals, he fixes any problems, greases the palms of the government officials. You know this guy. And we see him on his latest project, where not only does he have to deal with a horrible accident that's occurred, that he now has to deal with all sorts of regulators and possibly the family suing and everything else. He also has to deal with his own family. He's got a horrible ex-wife. He's got a son who wants to get into the business and thinks it's a smart idea to start working in the fields. And he's got a daughter who's every grown husband or every grown father's nightmare. She's 17, she's beautiful, and she's a hellion. This poor man is in trouble.
Name me a show where Billy Bob Thornton doesn't have a horrible ex-wife. I mean, really. Really. Just name me a single show. What do you think so far? I mean, compare it to like Tulsa King or Yellowstone. What do you think?
Well, I think it rides with Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, it's obvious they have put all the effort into his character. He gets all the great lines. He gets all the great dialogue. He has all the funny reactions. You love his conversations with people that are so full of just sarcasm and wit, and they're insightful. And, they really show you that this guy is a really, really smart dude who knows how to get what he needs, even if he's got to play it a little dirty. Everything else is just kind of blah. I think that when they're not focusing on Billy Bob, it just kind of loses any kind of impetus for you to pay attention. I mean, John Hamm's in here, and he plays kind of like the rich oil guy who's running the company.
Right.
I feel like they're going to do more with his character. They just haven't done it yet. Demi Moore is his wife. I mean, so there's a Demi Moore is John Hamm's wife in the movie. So you feel like there's a lot more coming there. I hope. I'm at 3 waffles. I mean, I think they've got a nice little story to tie to tie the season together to keep you interested in coming back for more and more. And I think you come back for Billy Bob.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I have yet to see a Taylor Sheridan show or movie, because he's done a couple movies, that I disliked. The guy is just a brilliant producer, writer, whatever. He does some amazing stuff. So I'm on board. I'll check it out. Paramount Plus. Are they all out, or do I have to wait?
You gotta wait, baby.
Shut up.
You gotta wait. Well, because they want you to watch it like like after you watch Yellowstone. Now they're gonna put out the first few episodes on Saturday, whereas it runs on Sundays when you have Yellowstone.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to keep up that Saturday release. I'm looking into it. I think they are, because they're putting it on Paramount Plus. I don't know if it's running on the Paramount cable network, because they came to me at the angle of, here's our new Paramount Plus series. Do you want to watch a few episodes?
Right.
So
right.
That's where we are.
All right. So is it coming out this Saturday, or is it
this Saturday?
All right.
So tomorrow, man, go
right.
to your Paramount Plus and check it out.
All right. Well, Willie, next week, Gladiator 2 plus Wicked and wickedmovie.com. I guess that's it. Thank you, my friend. Anything else? We all good?
I'm feeling great. Come
Okay.
on. We're heading into my favorite holiday, as you know.
Yeah.
I love Thanksgiving.
Turkey coma.
I love Thanksgiving.
Turkey and pumpkin pie coma for Willie all day long.
Oh yeah.
I'm
just gonna hang out and watch football and eat pumpkin pie. Life does not get better than that.
I just see Willie on the couch with a pumpkin pie on his belly and a spoon. That's what I see him. That's what I see him. The TV on. All right. Well, thank you, Willie. We'll talk to you next week, my friend.
I talk to you then.
All right, folks, we are out of time. We will see you on Monday. Like I said, I think Eric Bain from Reason Magazine is going to be joining us. Fingers crossed. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.